Good afternoon to everybody out there in viewerland, and welcome to the Friday edition, the Freedback Friday edition of The Rundown. My name is Mike Wachowski, and I will be your host today for today's Freedback Friday edition. But I do not do this program by myself.
No, you do not. I will be Craig DeLuz. At least today, I will be Craig DeLuz. I am your host, coming to you from the left coast. I will be co-hosting today for Freeback Friday. But for those of you who are watching, and by the way, for those of you who are listening to us on Google Podcast or on Spotify, check us out there. If you ever just want to listen and don't necessarily want to watch, we do have the follow-up audio version of the program as well.
Yeah, and I can understand, why you may not want to listen. Right, this guy right here. You may not want to watch. And you just
because you have a face made for radio.
It's a face for radio and a voice for newspapers, right here, baby. I got it all.
A lot of fun. Any big plans for this weekend?
Look at that. It's coming straight at you.
Yeah, folks. And I have to basically darken him up and add some color too. I mean, for a dude from Florida, you're kind of pasty for a guy from Florida, dude.
Hold on. I can adjust these lights. Hold on. Let's see how this works. Watch this. I'm a radio guy for like 7 years. I still don't understand the lighting thing.
Oh, nice. That looks nice. There you go.
There.
Right there.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. Muy perfecto, muy capitan. All right. How was your day going so far today, Craig, on Freedback Friday?
You know what, man? It's going phenomenal. I took my granddaughter to preschool for the first time. This is her third day of preschool. My first time actually taking her, and
Gotcha.
you think they're cute and loving and yada yada yada. Then they get to school and see their friends, and they're like, "Bye, Papa."
Yeah. Yep.
Like, wow, that's all I get.
That's it. That's all you get. Wait, give it another week or two, Craig. Before she makes the turn, she's going to ask you for money.
Well, that's what grandpas do, though.
Yep, exactly right. She's going to turn, put that hand out here, drop a 20 in it, and she's going to go take care of her friends. She's going to buy a round of pizzas. She's going to buy the whole pizza because the whole pizza is $10. Then she can sell the slices for $2, and she makes a profit. And your daughter's coming home with extra money in your pocket. You're trying to figure out how she did that.
Well,
she's 4, and she's
sounding like my daughter.
Yeah. Oh wait, that was my daughter too. So yeah, exactly. Oh boy. Yeah, good day. Good times. It's already afternoon out here in the East Coast, so we are officially a day and a half into the weekend. Because it's Friday at 3. So.
Well, we just hit noon, so we're now officially in the afternoon. 12:01.
Checking the live feed that I could see. People are starting to check in and say hello. So welcome everybody.
What's up, y'all?
Welcome to the program.
Well, I'm sure they didn't come to hear us banter, man. So let's get into the news stories.
Oh, that's what I came here for, though. But all right.
Well, exactly. We come here for the banter, just because it gives us a reason to hang out every day. But I'm assuming that our audience, and y'all can correct me in the feed, in the comments if you like. I'm assuming that they came to hear the news.
Let me see here. I'm reading through, waiting for some comments to come through, and we'll find out in a moment. Right. And we'll see what they say. But let's move along. We can move along. We can go to some topics. We can go to some actual information here. Some conservative views and 2A news we'll give you here on the rundown. Listen. We've got Captain Florida here, Governor DeSantis. It's like we hadn't heard from him a day or two, so he had to just flap his wings and go out there and do his thing and let everybody know how awesome he is and against his fight against. Now, I mean, it's really a personal fight. It seems like from the current administration, the Biden administration towards old Captain Florida here. So it's always interesting to see what's going to happen. And it's kind of neat. It's because it's like Joe Biden will come at him with like a checker move, and then DeSantis will respond with some 3D chess on his butt, and then Joe's left like, what happened? What just happened here?
Well, it's funny you say that because it does seem like that. It seems like they're trying to turn DeSantis into the new Donald Trump, and quite frankly, It seems like Ron DeSantis is trying to turn himself into the new Donald Trump. Because, once again, it's just he's someone who's like, look, no, I am not going to give in to you tyrants. Yep. And you got to admire him for that. And, although I will say this, I believe he is he does a better job at articulating why he's taking the positions that he is taking, and using logic and reason to say, screw you, tyrants.
I'll say this: DeSantis, great background, lawyer, military man, one term in U.S. Congress, right?
Right.
Now this is his first term in the governor's office. So the difference between him and President Trump is that he has had a very brief amount of time,
yes,
in politics ahead of time. Remember,
right.
Trump didn't have that, so Trump came at it with the business sense, and now DeSantis has that also. But it's almost like he's got a little bit of polishing with politics.
All right, so let's talk about the two ways, because there were two stories that we were going to hit on today. Where he actually kicked COVID tyrant butt.
Yep, exactly right. Let me see if I had some quotes up here. It's not from that story. Okay, all right. We've seen this happen a couple of times now, and it's happened again. When the president has been continuing to be pushing vaccinations about 2-3 months ago, we saw Governor DeSantis say, "Listen. Here's what we want. We've got the vaccinations being pushed upon us, but yet we have effective treatments. We have the Regeneron, which is the monoclonal antibodies. All right, and from all accounts, I've had two friends that have actually used it. Two friends that have gotten the COVID, and they weren't in the hospital, they weren't in ICU or anything like that, but they were home sucking. Okay, let's just say that. And the monoclonal became available. So they went and took the monoclonal, and within hours, it was bam, all symptoms gone. I mean, this thing just attacks, what you've got or what's going on with the body, with the COVID, and just put them back on top of their game within hours. And then by the next day, had them showing, negative on a test. They still stayed home because they want to make sure it wasn't a false test or anything like that. But this monoclonal was great. Now, the governor was pushing the Regeneron monoclonal antibodies treatment. And the Fed said, no, you must vaccinate. The only way is to vaccinate. We have to vaccinate. And they said that for, again, how many months have been saying that, Craig? But then specifically the last 2-3 months, our governor's been fighting them here in Florida. Well, now the Feds have kind of turned around and said, your treatment is good. Okay, that treatment is good. It's he beats them, and then they can't help but face the science, because this is not just how the left does it, where they say, well, we said it, so that's how it is. When DeSantis says it, he's got the science behind him. And now, once again, 3 months later, the science has proven Governor DeSantis correct.
Well, and it's funny, and it's kind of a two-pronged, double-edged sword. And this is what I say to folks. Number one is, first of all, it's important to understand that when the scientists question some of these treatments, what they're saying is they're not saying it works or it doesn't work. What they're saying is we haven't done clinical studies, meaning we haven't done long drawn out studies in order to determine, the effectiveness, how it's effective, all the stuff that would normally go into a clinical study. Because guess what? We're fighting this disease on the go, right? We're dealing with it on the go as we're moving. So they're not saying that it's not effective, but when they come out and they say, well, there's no studies and there's no evidence, what they mean is we haven't done long drawn out clinical studies. Well, then the politicians and the media turn around and say, oh, well, there's no evidence and that it's dangerous and they flat out lie about it. They did the same thing with hydroxychloroquine. They've done the same thing with ivermectin, and they just flat out lie about it. Well, and the average person is like, look, okay, yeah, I realize that there's anecdotal evidence, but not just that. At least there's been limited studies in a lot of these cases that maybe have not been, quote unquote, peer reviewed. Peer review means other scientists have done it and tried to duplicate the outcome. Well, guess what? Once again, that takes a long frigging time, but that doesn't mean that it's not effective or that it doesn't work. Now, Having said that, I then turn around and I say the exact same thing to the people who were talking about the vaccine and say, well, when you call that experimental, understand that the treatments that you're talking about are also experimental and haven't gone through the long-term studies. And just like the vaccine it's gone through some studies, but it still hasn't gone through long-term studies. What's it going to do to people years down the road? So I always tell people, I'm like, look, what I get is everybody is willing to try something that's shown evidence of working. And anyway, that's just my perspective on it.
Here's what the administration has said. This is what the administration said 2.5 months ago. We know what works to prevent people from contracting this disease in the first place. Masking and vaccination. Masking and vaccination. Right,
Which
Greg?
we know doesn't work.
We know they've been pushing on this. That's what they want. It's what they want. They can't prove that even works.
Right.
We should be focusing on these preventative measures, said Dr. Lena Wen, emergency physician and visiting professor of health policy at GW Institute for Health. It's totally backwards to say that we should be focused on treatment instead of emphasizing prevention and the steps that we work to stop COVID-19 in the first place. Let me say this, Craig. We've had Dr. John Adine, who's a well-respected surgeon in Texas and around the country. He's been on my program. He's been on your program, and we know what he said. We know what many others have said. And here's what Dr. John sat with me one night and told me. He said, it's as if we're trying to come up with a vaccine for the common headache. All right? A vaccine for the headache. Instead of waiting until somebody gets a headache and giving them 2 aspirin. All right? That's what we should be doing. We have the medications in place to treat when somebody contracts this. Can you still wear a mask and wash your hands and social distance? Of course you can. That's never going to hurt, but that's not going to be the solve to stop this from spreading.
Well, but you know what, Mike, and the thing is the two don't have to be mutual. They're not mutually exclusive. They're only mutually exclusive because policymakers are like, no, you can't talk about treatment because we're only talking about prevention.
Right.
Well, guess what? We already know that every mode of prevention that you've come up with is not 100% effective. In fact, is nowhere near 100% effective to prevent transmission. So why not, while we're working on prevention, why are we not also talking about treatment? Why do the two have to? Exactly. Why do you have to treat the two as though the two can't coexist?
These medical professionals that continue to lie to you, Craig, because they talk about this virus and vaccinations, right? Like with polio, everybody got vaccinated for polio, Craig, do you know what the medication you take if you contract polio?
Hydroxychloroquine.
There's no medication for polio.
Oh no. Okay,
if
no, you're right. Okay, I'm thinking something else. Okay,
you've got polio.
Right.
That's all there is to it. So every time they say, "Well, you took the vaccine for polio," and nobody objected to that. Yeah, that was something that was worked on for 40 years, by the way, and there is no medication. You can't walk into the doc and go, "Oh, I got the polio."
There's no treatment for polio.
There is no treatment for it.
Right.
No treatment for it whatsoever.
And
whereas with this is like saying, "Oh, I have the headache." Oh no, you didn't get a vaccine before you got the headache. Now you have to suffer with the headache. No, I'll just take the aspirin because that's what's going on with COVID. Because it's available now with the ivermectin or the Regeneron that you could just go take the medicine and be okay.
Exactly. And that, by the way, leads us to the second part of Captain Florida Kicking Butt. You want to share that with the folks?
I'll let you share it.
Okay, basically what has happened is, so you know that he's been fighting against locals mandating masks. Now, once again, he has no problem if kids or staff want to wear a mask and decide to wear a mask. What he's opposed to is mandating that people wear masks. Well, guess what? The courts have once again supported his ban on mask mandates, saying yes, he completely and utterly has the authority to do that.
Yeah, remember, folks, he put his mandate in order, an executive order in place that said there shall be no school mask mandates. That shall be left up to the parent and the child to decide. Now, if the school board wants to make all their school board members wear them or whatever, that's up to the school board, but they will not be deciding for the children. That was appealed to a liberal county court up in Tallahassee, Florida. That judge put the injunction in place, wrongfully so. Craig and I talked to you about this at length. It was clearly a political biased reason why he put this injunction in place. You normally don't put an injunction in place unless it's very clear on the facts that the case is going to be overturned or quashed or stopped or whatever, and that was not the case here. It went to the First District Court of Appeals in Florida. Those judges overturned that decision, said the mask mandate, the judge's executive order, the governor's executive order on mask mandates is lawful, and it could go back into place, so you cannot have a mask mandate. Some parents down in Miami-Dade County in South Florida decided they didn't like that, so they went judge shopping, went to a couple of federal judges and went in there and said, well, we'd like you to stop this. And that federal judge said, denied, nothing wrong with this, get out of my office. So now it's passed, the state level, state district level, and the federal level. They've both said go away.
Exactly. So, once again, Captain Florida, kicking butt, taking names. And this is evidence, quite frankly, that he actually knows what he's doing and knows what he's talking about. The media doesn't like it. The leftists don't like it. The administration, the presidential administration, the White House administration clearly don't like it. And they keep losing at every turn.
Yep. Here's some comments coming from Florida from Kevin, our good friend Kevin. Way to go, Gov. So that's pretty cool. Kevin's always he loves his governor the same way we do. And scrolling down through, just agreement what's going on. So yeah. Wish I was in your state. Well, come on, move back. Patrick, you can come down here. Come on, let's do it. Let's see. All right, let's take a look here. Let's move on to New York City. New York City.
Get a rope.
New York City. Let me see if I get some quotes from this one here. Let's see. All right, so we that's the judge. All right, here we go. So New York City, as of the 13th, as of this past Monday, went to a mandatory vaccination card proof if you wanted to go.
Wait, Mike. You know what? I made a big mistake. I forgot about our new intro for our COVID stories.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Sorry, right. Sir.
Guess what, bitch? Coronavirus.
It's about the COVID. It's got the COVID, y'all.
Coronavirus. Anyway, back to the story.
Back to the story. So in New York City, the mayor there, De Blasio, Wilhelm, has decided that the way to stop the spread of the COVID virus, again, remember, is through vaccination. Remember, vaccination's cure. By the way, Craig, and remember, I was there. I was there on the 12th. I was there that recently when we could put 42,000 people in a baseball park, where we could put 20,000 people at the U.S. Open and cram them all together, all 65,000 people in the same subway station with no mask, no protection.
Now, Mike, I hope, since you were around all those infected people, I would rather you put a mask on your microphone so that my computer doesn't get infected with the virus.
You're gonna get the computer coronavirus.
Computer corona. I'm sorry, I had to interrupt. Go ahead. You keep telling your story. Keep telling your story.
That's it's not the COVID-19. You got the Commodore 64 virus. That's
Commodore 64.
Your computer started acting like it was a Commodore 64 again. That's how slow it was. Let's see here. So the mayor there decides, oh man, I got a perfect idea. You have to have this vaccine card. They even made a little app in New York. You got to download the app and take a picture of your virus card, of your vaccination card, showing that you got it. And then if you want to go into a restaurant, a store, the theater, the movies, whatever it happens to be, they'll say, give us your vaccination card. Show us your vaccination card. Now,
show us your papers.
Yeah, this to me, you know what? I'm going to get to that part later. Well, what's going on, what the governor or what the mayor has done there. Well, in New York City, we've had, I think it lasted about 2 days before a woman, and it was a 20-year-old woman, 21-year-old woman, 44-year-old mother, and another 49-year-old friend went to Carmine's on Broadway. Went to Carmine's on Broadway, and they were encountered by the server girl, the hostess girl, out front, and she said, "Can I see your vaccination card, please?" And the fight ensued. There was some fisticuffs. There were some hands thrown. And we had a discourse going on outside Carmine's on Broadway. Now, a couple of things I want you to take a look at when you're doing this, right? Craig, there was the podium. Down goes podium.
Down goes the podium.
So this, and as we there, right there, you can see that's indoor, outdoor, indoor dining, Craig, because remember, we weren't allowed to have indoor dining. So we took indoor dining and put it outside, and it became outside indoor dining. So we've already taken the recommended, everybody stay 6 feet away unless you're outdoors, right? So what they did is they brought the indoors outdoors and made the outdoors indoors. So now that the whole, wear your mask and stay social distance, we're not even doing that anymore. That's not occurring anymore. So we've decided we're going to go with the let me see your papers, please, because we know that's worked so well in the past. Please show us your papers. And now we've gone from that to you must mark yourself. You must show your vaccinations, right? And here I want to read you a little quote which shows the mentality of what's going on up there. This is from the Restaurant Workers Association or some nonsense like that up in New York. It says, it's a shocking and tragic situation when one of our valued employees is assaulted for doing their job. Craig, for doing her job. What's her job, Craig? What's her job as hostess, Craig?
I believe her job is to take the name of people who want to sit down and eat, and then call their name when the table is ready.
Pretty sure that's it. Unless she's been brainwashed, and now their job is doing their job as required by city policies and trying to make a living. This is the absolute last experience any of our employees should ever endure and any customers witness. Wow. So their job now is enforcing city policies. I wonder if we gave them like a junior G-Man badge too, Craig. I wonder if when we decided we were going to be the ones that pointed out where the Jews were, that they were going to get a reward and be able to keep their job. Oh, wait, did I say Jews? I'm sorry. I meant to say
the unvaccinated people. The unvaccinated people. Well, so what's the trip about this is multi-phase. Number one, it's not their job. I mean, once again, the clear definition of fascism, a part of fascism is when you have private industry, when you have whether media and private business and corporations enforcing the mandates of government, acting as agents of the government and enforcing their policies on people. That's a big part of fascism. But the other thing that was interesting about this was it wasn't just that she asked for to see their vaccination cards. It's that she accused them of them being falsified. And that's the interesting thing about the story, the video story, the one that was played on the news, because that was on a news channel, was that they didn't mention that at all. All they said was, she just checked their papers and they attacked her. Well, no, she accused them of being liars. So you bother to go get vaccinated, you go through that step, you get your vaccination card as is issued to you by your state, and then all of a sudden the person wants to accuse you of being a liar. I mean,
these were three women from Texas that were in New York City for whatever reason. Now, I want to say this too also, Craig. This is something that's on an app. You don't just carry your vaccination card around with you. You have to get this app. You have to scan your vaccination card in, and then you show it to them on your phone. So here's how I think this fight started, Craig. Mm-hmm. I think one of these three women is asked by this hostess, can I see your vaccination, your app or your card or whatever? And they hand the phone over, right? And then this girl takes the phone and says, oh, this is fake. This is fake. This is not real. We have to do something about this. And then the other woman says, you can give me my damn phone back. And she says, no, it's fake. And that's when the fight starts. Craig, how much does your phone cost you?
Oh, no, much more than other things. Well, but not just that. I mean, what if she expected, the waitress expected for it to be on the app, and they're like, we're from Texas. I mean, if you don't live in New York City, how do you know you're supposed to have your vaccination card on an app?
I will say this. When you're having just been there, that every point of entry into New York now says, download the app and put your vaccination card on it. There's no way, unless these people from Texas didn't speak English, there's no way that they knew, or Spanish from the signs I saw, that they knew that there was not a vaccination card.
Unless they just ignored it and said, look, I've got I've got proof of vaccination. I'm not doing no damn app.
Could have happened that way too.
Yeah. Yep. But this is what happens though when you start having citizens report on other citizens and start having private citizens try to enforce tyrannical mandates. Someone's going to wind up someone's going to wind up in the middle of fisticuffs.
Kevin Sona says, "I wish I could get 3 women to jump me." Wow. Okay. All right. Kevin,
All right.
It's up to you.
On that note,
we'll just move on. Move on from there. All right. Judge Clarence Thomas. Judge Clarence Thomas. Everybody knows Judge Clarence Thomas. He has decided this week he's fed up with the banter, with the rhetoric going on concerning the Supreme Court. We know that Justice Amy Coney Barrett, was it 2 weeks ago? I think 2 weeks ago, when she had her statement that she released concerning the Texas abortion law, and she wrote out there, just quite flatly, this was not within the scope of this, and she gave the legal reasons, and that was it. Well, everybody came back and said that it was partisan politics, and that the Supreme Court is trying to flex their partisan muscle. And let's be clear on this: there is, according to law, there is no partisan part of the Supreme Court. Now, we know that individual presidents will assign or will appoint or put up for nomination, let's say it that way, people that politically see things the way they do, and that's one of the reasons we elect presidents. One of the big reasons I believe President Trump was elected as well. And so there will be some partisan divisions perhaps amongst the court, but you'll never see this become an elected part of the triumvirate that we have here with the division of government. So we know the liberals on one side, we have the conservatives on one side. We will see from the conservatives that they will rule by the rule of law. We've seen from the liberals that they will rule by emotion and by liberal policy. Well, the Judge Thomas said, listen, not gonna have any of this. I want you people to know right now that we're doing what we're charged to do. We're doing what we're doing according to the law. He did make the comment. He said, sometimes I don't like the results of the decisions or even my own decisions, but it's not my job to decide these cases based on an outcome that I want rather than on the rule of law. He said judicial philosophies are not the same as political parties.
Well, and I think that right there is the most important thing. And in understanding that the two different parties do have two different philosophies, and even quite frankly, even amongst conservatives, there is a differing judicial philosophy. The judicial philosophy of the left is largely, look, your job as a judge is to make things right according to what we believe is right. And so they don't care about law. They don't care about precedent. They only care about it to the degree that it supports the outcome that they believe is just, right? On the right, we're kind of split, because you do have some people who are like, yeah, that's the way we want it. We want conservative justices who are going to rule conservatively, and who are just going to, who are going to give us what we want. But then you have conservatives want the Constitution. No, let me finish, Mike. Yeah. Let me finish. Then you also have amongst conservatives people who believe that judges are supposed to do their job, which is to interpret the law, to interpret the situation according to the law, according to the Constitution, and rule justly. And largely we believe that because we believe that when it's done that way, more decisions than not are going to come out our way.
Correct. No, you're right. Yeah, listen, it's what I want. I don't want a conservative judge to answer conservatively. I want a conservative judge to answer according to the Constitution.
Well, but let's be honest. You know that there are people on our side who want that. They're like, look, the left does it, so we should do it.
Well, I am a conservative, which means I follow the rule of law, which means I follow the Constitution. But it's not to say a liberal wants a liberal answer. A conservative wants a constitutional answer.
Not every conservative believes that, though. And I think they're wrong, those who don't. Yeah. But there are definitely people on the right side of the aisle who would rather just have someone who's going to rule whatever way they want as opposed to rule by the rule of law. there are
Then
some
they don't
of
understand
them.
what the rule of law and the Constitution is. They're
No,
they're part of the problem. They're just as biased.
I completely agree with you. I
Yeah.
completely agree with you. But we have to acknowledge that they exist on our side. They are a minority, in my opinion, but they do exist.
Sure, I will give you that. Yeah, yeah.
All right. And all Clarence Thomas is saying, look, our judicial philosophy is different. And just because you assume that because I personally believe this way, I'm going to use the rule of law to make my decisions. Now, we all know that the judges on the left don't do that. That's just not their judicial philosophy. Their attitude is our job is to rule in the direction of justice, however we see it.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely right. And it's good to see Judge Thomas come out. One of the elders of the bench right now. Been there for, how long has he been there? 25, 30 years now.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. Mid 80s, late 80s.
Mm-hmm.
So 30 years. It's good to see him there. So and hopefully for a very long time still to come. Stay healthy, Your Honor. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to. And this one, Craig, I'm not looking to go into at length. This one was kind of just kind of want to put this out there so people know what the numbers are. Women are nearly half of all new gun owners right now. Now, I don't know, and I've read through this story a couple of times. I don't know how that they were able to determine that these were first-time gun owners or if these were second, third purchase. I'm going to go with what based I read on this story that these women were just firearm purchasers. Don't know if it was their first or their 10th, but that it's coming down to now that the numbers that are out there today is about half of people purchasing firearms on a 4473, the ATF background check form, purchasing handguns are women. It's about half right now. Now, I can tell you from years past, Craig, that was probably, and here's where I think there's a big difference, right? It was probably 25% that used to be women coming in to purchase handguns and firearms. I think it was much more than that. I think much more you had husband, brother, fiance, whatever it was, father, coming in, purchasing the firearm for the woman and giving it to them. But over the past 10 years, over the last 5 years, more specifically, we've seen more women coming into the gun stores. I think it's always been a decent number of women purchasing firearms, but I think now it's a more decent number of women actually coming into the store to getting the firearm rather than having somebody else go buying the firearm for them. And I'm not talking about a straw purchase. I'm talking about legal purchases by immediate family members for one reason or another, which is allowed under the law. So now the whole social stigma of a woman couldn't go into a gun store and buy a gun before, I think that's what's changed, not the number of women that own firearms.
Well, exactly. But I think it also speaks to we've seen data that talks about, the increased number of minorities, of black folks who own and purchase firearms. The point is the narrative of the old white man being the gun owner is being undermined at every turn. And that's why, once again, when I look at people and I deal with folks and they're like, well, they're Democrats, but they want to be gun owners. I'm like, well, keep in mind, as you're seeking to exercise your right, these things are going to start to become infringements. These things you call common sense gun laws, now that you are a gun owner or seeking to become a gun owner, you're going to start to find just how much of an infringement these laws are. When you need to go buy a firearm to protect your family and you can't get one because you have to wait 11 days, or you can't get ammunition because you're not part of an ammunition registry, or you can't buy a firearm that works for you because that firearm is listed as an assault weapon or isn't available for sale in your state.
I had a story told to me yesterday, Craig, about a guy who's a Second Amendment advocate. He's a Second Amendment, let's say Second Amendment supporter, firearm owner, had a Democrat friend, was not into guns, took him to the range a couple of times. Guy ended up buying his own pistol, bought his own black rifle, and now that guy has become a gun owner. All right, and I'll get into the rest of that in a moment. But I told this guy, I said, okay, now here's what I want you to do. When it's time to go back to your car and put your guns in the car, I want you to take the rifle away from him. Take it, and tell him you're taking it because somebody across the street said they don't like it. Right. Tell him he's not allowed to have it back. Tell him he's not allowed to have it back, and explain that to him. Explain that to him, because somebody else doesn't like it, that he's going to lose the right to own that. And let's talk now about being a Democrat and being a Second Amendment supporter. And that was the way to do it. I will say this, Craig, and I don't want to get too far into this. In fact, I think this is what my speech is going to be on with the Gun Rights Policy Conference, is this whole, you hear about this fabricated new term out there called the gun community. There is no gun community, folks. There's no gun community. We don't all go out and, like, it's not like a Corvette show where we all show up with Corvettes and nobody cares about what each other's politics are. There's no gun community. There's no place where we all go and hang out and just have guns. All right. There's gun owners, and there's Second Amendment supporters and advocates. All right. You have, if a Democrat owns a gun, they are no more a friend of mine than if the Taliban owns a gun. Okay. They have no understanding of the law. They are not my friend. If anything, they're hypocrites with the firearm. Now, if you want to sit and have a conversation with me about protecting your rights, the rights of everybody around you, and fighting against tyranny, and being a Second Amendment supporter and a Second Amendment advocate, then I'll welcome you to my community. But there is no gun community. That's a false term put out by the left to try and bring them into the gun rights policy realm, and they have no business there whatsoever.
Exactly. No, you hit the nail on the head. In some cases, it requires some education, and becoming a gun owner is the beginning of education. I've always been pro Second Amendment, but I did not realize the challenges that gun owners faced until I became a gun owner. And so it's the beginning of the process.
Yeah.
So it's not the end of the process, as some on the left want to make it to be, but it's the beginning of the process. And if you want to be an informed and educated gun owner, you're going to start to realize just how much these things that they call common sense gun control, you're going to realize just how much they are actually infringements on your fundamental right to be able to keep and bear arms. And I argue this all the time, and I argue with folks. And the first thing that I have to demonstrate with them and get them to understand is how little they actually know. How much of what they've assumed, that what they've been told is flat out wrong or just a flat out lie. And that they really need to take the time to educate themselves. And for many people, they don't want to admit they don't know. But it's like, once again, it's like the first step in getting help is acknowledging that you have a problem.
Yeah. Yep. Looking back through some of the comments here, Craig, Dean says, get them the gun, then start the lessons.
Right.
Do it that way. Going back a little further, Sam, I'm going to assume Sam's a female because it says, I've owned many guns, but in the past year is the first time I bought a gun in a gun store.
There you go. Well, point made.
Yep.
Point made.
All right. Well, let's get here into the parting shot, if we shall.
Well, and this kind of works, quite frankly, I think, with the whole conversation about the fact that, there's various different treatments for COVID, and there's only one method of prevention, even though we know it doesn't necessarily prevent folks, and we know that it just recently got approved by the FDA, and we know the quality of the folks over there at the Federal Food and Drug Administration. But when one is hesitant to get the coronavirus vaccine, one can tend to look a little bit like it.
We're about to get the coronavirus. What's going on?
Coronavirus!
That baby's so scared he went bald.
Hilarious.
Guess what, Biz? Coronavirus!
Oh man. Normally I don't. Normally I'm not into Cardi B, but that was hilarious. That is hilarious.
Is that Cardi B? I didn't even have any idea.
Yes, that was Cardi B.
All right. I'm okay. I don't have any idea who Cardi B is. So, let's see. I'm going back. I know you haven't been following comments, Craig. I've been following comments. I think if I have to pick one, I think it's got to go back to Kevin, who said he'd like to be jumped by 3 women. So
I think that is the comment. I think that is the comment of the day, and I think he deserves a free gift because he's going to have to explain that one to Sarah. Yeah.
So we have a bolt carrier group here. It's a nice premier bolt carrier group made out of 9610 steel and Carpenter 158. So it's really good stuff, and we will make sure to get this to Kevin. It may be a little dirty when you get it, because we have to test and evaluate it, but it'll be yours at one day at some point. So
Exactly. Folks, we want to thank you. That's going to be it for today's episode of The Rundown. We want to thank our sponsors, Guerrilla Machining and Grid Defense. I also want to thank the folks over at the California Republican Assembly for broadcasting our program and sponsoring the program. Folks, you can watch us just about anywhere. You can watch us on 2A News. You can watch us on Arms Room Radio. You can watch us at the California Republican Assembly. But there's only one home of The Rundown, and that's therundown.us. That'll take you to our YouTube channel. There's also, follow us on Facebook, 2A News Rundown. Please like, share, subscribe. That way you'll get the notifications whenever we go live, and you can participate in the live chat and have an opportunity to win some fun stuff on Freedback Friday.
there you go. Check us out. Follow us. Do it in the right spot, and we'll see you on Manic Monday.
Manic Monday. Holler at you later.